Now, if you or anyone you know has ever suffered from any kind of pain, be it a physical ailment, an injury, an illness, some kind of degeneration, then I'm sure that you've looked for, or you've at least wished for, some kind of remedy, a treatment, an ointment, a device that could take that pain away. A silver bullet that could heal you or your loved one and make everything better. The powers that be tell us that there are no silver bullets. The best that the medical industry can do is to dole out painkillers and palliative remedies. Do we trust the powers that be? Do we trust the medical mafia? Sorry, the medical industry? Well, here at Revelation Tapes, surprisingly enough, we don't trust those people. And we're trying to get to the truth of the matter. And today, in that quest, we're going to be looking at a machine that it's claimed can remove pain without the use of painkillers, without the use of pharmaceuticals. The violet ray machine. Some people have called it a silver bullet. Today, right now, I'm going to be talking to someone who uses the machine. Ladies and gentlemen, Jennifer Taylor. Hi Jenny, and welcome to Revelation Tapes.
Thank you, Grayling.
Okay, this is the machine here. We're not going to open it just yet. First of all, though, if you could maybe tell us a bit about it. As I understand it, it's a high frequency, high energy machine. What do those terms mean specifically when we're talking about this machine?
Well, as you say, it's a high frequency machine. So it takes the power from the normal household outlet and changes the power, breaks it down into millions of tiny little particles so that you can use it without getting an electric shock. You know.
Right. Okay. So it takes the electricity out of the socket over there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's plugged into the mainframe. This machine.
That's right.
And it somehow converts it into some kind of healing energy.
Yes. Yeah. Just as a hairdryer converts the electric power into heat to dry your hair.
Right, okay. There's no chance of an electrocution. People, it's like a hairdryer, there's no chance
no,
of
there are safety features built into the machine, so you can't get an electric shock.
Okay, I mean, I'm calling it the violet as in the colour, the violet ray machine. Is that the correct name for it?
It is. It's called the violet ray machine, or some people call it the violet wand machine, because as you will see later, it emits a violet coloured light while you're using it. Okay.
Now, recently, as part of this series on health, I interviewed a man called Frank Willis, who's a martial arts expert. I'm sure many of you have seen the interview. In that interview, Frank talks about chi energy, which is a form of, according to him, is a form of electricity within the body, and he can, or within the universe. And he can harness this energy, and he talked about it being a bit like the spark of life. How does this electricity relate to that, or does it in any way?
Well, as you probably know, the body does work on electricity. Our nervous system is composed of neurons that all connect together via synapses, which is a little gap, and a spark of electricity jumps that gap, and it runs right through your body to all your extremities, and that's what makes your body move. The brain acts as a control centre, so the body does need electricity of some form. So the difference between a live body and a dead body is that spark, isn't it? That lack of electricity.
Or the lack of electricity.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Frank also briefly mentioned, and I know this is something that you've looked into quite a bit, this guy Nikola Tesla. Now I don't know a great deal about him. Could you maybe explain how is he related to this machine, or is he related to this machine?
He is, in that the machine is based on what is called nowadays the Tesla coil, which is a way of emitting electricity that he developed. He was born at the end of the 1800s, and he spent a lot of time in the 1900s developing electricity and so on. There are various iconic photographs of him holding a light bulb in his hand with the power transmitted through his body to light the light bulb and so on. And you can read quite a lot about him on the internet. I believe Revelation Tapes also have a couple of DVDs.
Absolutely, absolutely, they certainly do, and you can order those on Nikola Tesla from the usual address.
Yeah.
So, and am I right in thinking he allowed the electricity to flow over him?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? And
AC electricity, which is what he developed, is not as powerful as DC electricity, and it creates electricity, as you say, that flows over the body without hitting the internal organs. And it's only when electricity hits the internal organs that it kills somebody. So
that was the excuse that the powers that be again used for needing that type of electricity, because they said, well, they needed it to make an electric chair to kill people. So
yeah.
that apparently, is that right?
Yeah,
that's why it was
there
taken
are stories about the electric chair being developed. Yes, yeah.
For that
and
reason,
again,
so that's
you can read all about it on the internet.
Okay.
It is quite fascinating reading. Actually,
if people want to look into that further, that's where they can go for that. So, looking specifically at this machine, what sort of things do you use it for?
Personally, I use it for aches and pains, all sorts of things like that.
So it's basically pain relief, really.
Yeah,
when people are suffering from any kind of pain.
That's right.
Now,
there are other uses which are in the manual that comes with it, and obviously, if you have the need, then you can use it for different things.
We'll get into that maybe in a second. But if we're just going to focus on pain relief just for now, in terms of pain relief, it might be hard for some people to think. Say if I've got a pain in my back or something, I might go for a massage, or I might go for a chiropractic adjustment. And that's really getting down into the muscles. Does this get down into the muscles in the same way?
It does indeed, yes. Have you heard of diathermy?
No.
It's diathermy is commonly used in hospitals and medical practices, and it's an electrically induced heat. And what happens is the electricity is applied to the surface of the skin. And I'm not an electrician, and I don't know about the technicalities of it.
Yeah.
But it does cause muscle fibres to rub together and create friction, and friction creates heat. So the electricity gets down deep into the muscle.
Deep into the muscle, then it penetrates the muscle.
That's right, and creates the heat to relieve the pain.
To relieve the pain. So is it more about sort of circulation? Are people suffering from more than anything sort of poor circulation? Is that what it's about then, if it's bringing that heat to that one area?
Well, a lot of people nowadays are suffering from poor circulation because they don't get the exercise that we used to get. People are sitting all day at the desk in the office, they're sitting behind the wheel of the car, they're sitting watching television. So a lot of people don't get the exercise to increase the circulation. This machine can help increase the circulation. The heat alone increases the blood flow throughout the body.
So someone's got an injury, so they've got a bruise or a knock or something of this nature, or something perhaps more serious, like they've got some kind of disease in a certain area. How does it actually? Can you just take us through that? How does it exactly go about it? It's focusing on that area. The electricity's there. It's bringing the blood flow to that area. Is it as simple as that, or?
Basically it is, because the blood flow is essential for everything.
For healing.
The blood carries all the nutrients and things throughout the body, and contains all the antibodies and things to fight disease. So if the blood is flowing to a particular site where there's damage, it's increasing all the nutrients, it's bringing oxygen to that site as well, which is a huge healing
tool, absolutely, So give us some examples of people that have been healed using this machine. Some general examples.
Well, there are many people that have used it to heal minor injuries and ailments, but there are a few quite, what I would think are amazing incidences that I've used it for. One is my partner, who was gardening using a pickaxe, and he hit his foot. Was limping quite badly. There were no broken bones, but he was limping. We used the machine on it within a couple of hours of him hurting himself, and by the next morning he wasn't completely better, so we used it again. By 11 o'clock he felt some relief, and by 1 o'clock he was walking normally again. The amazing thing was there wasn't even a bruise to be seen.
No bruise at all?
No. I've used it myself on my knee. I had a problem with my knee a few years ago. The doctor didn't know what the problem was, but I used it for about a week, and the aches went. I'd been limping for quite a while. I've also used it on our dog.
On an animal? You can use it on animals, yeah?
Most definitely, yeah. And I think the great thing about using it on an animal, whereas a human might say, oh yeah, it feels a lot better, the dogs can't lie. The animals can't lie.
No. There's no placebo with an animal either, is there?
There's no effect that they think it's going to work, so it does work. Our dog damaged his cruciate ligament, which is quite a commonplace injury in dogs and in footballers as well.
Oh, right.
Because it's in the knee joint. And he was limping. We took him to the vet. The vet gave him some anti-inflammatories and suggested that he may well have to have an operation, which could cost something between £2,000 and £4,000.
Wow.
We treated the dog for about a week daily, and then every other day for another week or so. And after that time, he wasn't limping.
Wow, so it can be used for quite a wide range of different things all over the body.
Yeah.
So how did you personally come across the machine and get into this line of work?
Well, like a lot of these things, a lot of it was coincidence. My partner was talking to our next door neighbour, who was 89 at the time, and he was just chatting about the things that are going on in the world and so on, and how
as you do.
Yeah, that's right. And how there are even cures for cancer and so on. And she said, oh, I've just been diagnosed with breast cancer.
Right, okay.
So we gave her a bit of advice about different treatments and so on, and discovered that there was somebody in Wales who is actually using this machine to treat people, and arranged for her to go down. She went down for a weekend. When she came back, not only had she been treated for the cancer, but she also, instead of walking with a walking stick, she was walking quite erect and with quite a spring in her step. So I decided to pay a visit with my mother, who was in ill health at the time. We spent a weekend down there and came back feeling quite bouncy. My partner went down with a friend, and so it went. You know, quite a few people that we knew went down and had a good experience with it. So we decided to invest in one of the machines.
Right, yeah, okay.
We thought that it would benefit our lives, which it has.
It has done, yeah, okay. Well, I mean, a lot of people are suspicious, naturally, of what we could call alternative or complementary therapies. And there's a lot of them that get a very bad press in the mainstream media. How does this compare with... in terms of the press coverage, in terms of the public perception, would you say, of it? In terms of, if we compare it with, say, acupuncture, reflux, how does it compare?
Well, there isn't actually a lot of press about the machine. It's not easy to find out information about it compared, as you say.
Well, it's not well known.
No,
it's not well known. I mean, if I was sort of sitting here doing an interview on reflexology, acupuncture, people know what those things are. People don't know about this generally. Why do you think that is?
Well, the machine's been going for quite a number of years. It was quite well known before the 1950s, and we've heard reports of people finding one of these machines in their recently deceased aunt's attic and so on. So up until the 1950s there were quite a number of them around. I think what's happened is that with the advent of antibiotics and so on, the pharmaceutical companies have taken over. They're wanting to push their tablets that allegedly help people, but tend just to keep things ticking over.
Well, you know our opinion of various things at Revelation Tapes in relation to the pharmaceutical, the medical.
Well, they don't actually
industry.
want anything that cures people, which is what this machine does do.
Well, let's look at that, because I have read several times in the research that I've done on this machine, the cure word, which is extremely unusual in terms of alternative therapies. They usually stay well away from that word, but the cure word is used in terms of this.
It certainly can cure aches and pains, and I would highly recommend it for that through personal experience. I wouldn't promise to cure lots of diseases and so on, but it can alleviate the pain.
It can alleviate the pain from those diseases,
yeah.
Which I mean, otherwise the main route of doing that is morphine and these drugs, which can be addictive and they can have harmful side effects.
That's right.
Are there any side effects with this?
None whatsoever.
There's no side effects. Okay.
Only a feeling of well-being.
Only a feeling. Well, what a side effect. If it's really that good, I mean, the question that people are going to ask, oh well, if it was that good, it'd be adopted by hospitals. What you're saying is that there's the reason it isn't adopted by hospitals is because the hospitals are in part, we could argue, funded by the pharmaceutical companies. There's a conflict of interest between the pharmaceuticals and the machine gets pushed aside. Yeah. So would you say it relies on people finding out about it themselves then?
Unfortunately it does, yes, yeah. But the more people like yourself who are trying to publicise it, the better.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Well, we're truth seekers, basically, trying to find out. The reason we're doing this series is to try and help people take control of their own health and survive in today's interesting and complicated world. So in the main, what sort of people come to you then? Is it people that have tried everything else and they're looking for a last resort or something, or is it?
Because it's not known in the mainstream media, yes, it does tend to be people that have gone down the normal conventional routes of pain relief and so on. They've been to the doctors, they've been for x-rays, all this sort of thing. Nothing's worked for them. And they start talking to people, and word of mouth gets around, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's people, basically, as a last resort. Yes, they will come and try a machine like this. Yeah.
Okay. So what about, we're saying it cures the pain, injuries, disease, illness, degeneration. Sounds good. What about the emotional side of things? We hear a lot about stress today, and stress is a big killer, or it's the biggest killer. How does this machine, or can this machine, alleviate stress?
I believe it can. A lot of stress is caused by not being in control of your life, not being in control of things that are going on around you. And if you're well and healthy, then you're far more in control, aren't you?
Yeah, I would think so.
And this machine does make you fit and healthy. So you feel more in control, therefore you suffer less stress.
Okay.
You're able to deal with things as they happen.
Yeah. Something specifically that a friend of mine is particularly interested in when I mentioned this machine and told him about it, and I'm not sure if this is right, but apparently it can regrow hair. My friend's bald, to put it bluntly. It can regrow hair, and it used to be used in hairdressing salons. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know about the hairdressing salons, but certainly in the manual it does give instructions how to use it for regrowth of hair. Now, the science behind it to me does make sense. The hair follicles are fed by the circulation, by blood vessels, and this helps to increase the circulation. There is actually an attachment that you can use to massage your scalp. So if the circulation is increasing, the blood flow to the hair follicles is increasing, it makes sense that it is going to help the hair to grow.
So what about grey hair then?
Well, grey hair is not a colour. Grey hair is actually the absence of colour. And the colour to hair is provided by a substance called melanin, which is within the hair follicles. So if you're stimulating the hair follicles again, you're stimulating the production of melanin, which is going to make the colour of your hair come back again.
So it's about
it does make sense to me.
It makes sense in terms of the circulation, yeah, in terms of the circulation, yeah.
Exactly.
So I mean, it can be used for many different things. Getting into the more serious stuff now, if we were talking about cancers, a lot of people out there that themselves or they have loved ones that are suffering with cancer. It's often said, or it has been said, that chemotherapy has about the same success rate as voodoo witchcraft. Could this, or as it has been claimed, could this be used as a substitute for things like chemotherapy and radiation? I mean, that's quite a claim, isn't it?